Hi there, this is Benji. I'm here to teach you about Grid Remnant. This is a little puzzle game created. It's set in a very, very, very far dark future. Um, Very much inspired by cyberpunk, of course. Um, and it's meant to be kind of a quiet, late at night, kind of want to like fall asleep, but you're not tired. The game's meant to be just sort of something to think about, and every time you play you learn a little bit more about this world and about this game. It's an idea I've had for a long time, but only recently um was I able to actually um code it. I definitely used AI to code. This is about 16 lines of HTML, and it's kind of crazy that you can do something like this. Um, and I find that to be the most exciting part of AI. I mean, of course, there's a lot of, it's like the Wild West. People are just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and we're deciding on what we think is the right or wrong of this new tool in our life. Um, but gosh, like, it's awesome that myself, who I've been playing games my whole life, and I'm in a point in my life, I'm in my early 40s, that I can, you know, visualize and create like a magician, um, all these things that have sat with me for decades. So anyways, let's get to it. I probably have lost everybody, but that's okay. If you're still here, you're amazing. Um, the first thing I like to do is I put on the sound. Got this nice little hum, and you imagine yourself in this far, far future. And with the advent of AI and the way the world is going, like, it's just going to keep doing more and more for us. I was able to have a long conversation with a LLM, and it translated that into 1,600 lines of code, and it was completely terrible at first. And so the conversation had to continue, and there was a I don't know, it was like really awesome to speak to this person as if like we were like best friends. And I had appreciation and gratitude for their talent. Um and it's funny because I didn't want I don't believe in generated art at the moment. Just because I have no ability to score. I mean, to like draw and paint, and so to use AI to sort of to use that, I don't know. I have a still pondering that, you know. But if an artist who knows how to paint and knows how it works, even in the most amateurish way, and they use AI to elevate that and bring out the ideas that they really have always wanted to bring out, I think that that's what makes AI kind of awesome. It becomes this, partner that helps you out and uses the resources of human knowledge and human ingenuity and the way that we have passed on knowledge through all of time. Suddenly, that knowledge can be analyzed and translated in a way that has never had before. So all of us are going to have this new partner in our lives that analyzes and transforms our desires and wants. And it's kind of amazing, and it's only going to work if it's all open source and decentralized. And that's the thing that we all should be fighting for, so that these blockchains and these kinds of experiences will keep institutions or any one particular entity to have total corporate control over it. You know, the ones that are doing what, you know, these companies want are going to have like these monoliths, and I find that to be really really scary. But there's also, you can't really stop an open source piece of software, you know, because people can just keep building on top of that, and the people can, it always becomes an escape route from these giant corporations. That's a long ramble, and I think you guys came to play this game, Remnant, so kind of get into it. So this is the entire board. You can almost think of this as like a cross between a short board game and a short, you know, mobile game. You only have 33 moves, and you'll see how the moves happen in a second. And then you get the closest thing you can to some sort of memory that happened in this moment in time. So you're sitting here in the far, far future, and you're using this device to cobble together some memory of what happened. And the game itself has a memory it wants to tell you, but you have to kind of figure that out. And that is sort of your job. All right. So in the game, you could just sleep all 33 cycles. You know, you could just fall asleep. And obviously, every time you rest, you get 3 energy. So our energy can go up. There is a very small chance, I think it's like 15%, it's a pretty small chance that you get robbed. And they will take, I think, 25% of your coin. So, but we're doing pretty good on energy, and we didn't get robbed. That's great. So the other thing you can do is deploy, and deploying is sort of like taking, and remember, you're this, how much machine you are versus how much human you are. You know, these terms, how you interpret things, you know, the more machine you are, the more generic and to the point. And the more human you are, I think, is when that human part is what creates that a little bit of chaos and a little bit of I don't know, there's something kind of amateur about it, so to speak, you know. I think what I really liked about the work that I've been doing lately is, you know, I think of my work as more like folk art, you know. And there was a movement of folk art back in, you know, where you'll go to certain neighborhoods. Like I think there's a neighborhood in Detroit that has incredible folk art, you know, and it's just regular people that are expressing themselves with the means that they have, you know, and they're you know, and they do these beautiful, incredible things, and they have so much awesome beauty to express, but because of the system they are under, you know, they're never celebrated or find any sort of financial gain from that, you know? But in that struggle, I think, comes this work that is wholly unique and completely singular, that is what is truly like human, versus machine, which is very much going to be efficiency. You know, why would you do this if you just do it this way? You know? So you can deploy. Now here is your kind of first choice you get to make. You can choose one of these 3 tiles, and then you choose where you want to put them on the map. On your first game, you're not going to know why you're going to choose a drone factory versus a geo drill. I mean, that makes no sense. I don't even know what the hell that means. it kind of makes sense a little bit, like a drone factory. Okay, well, that's a factory. It's probably industrial. Um, Maybe that's what red means, you know. Or the arcology sector, which is a very sort of uh, very planned residential area. So you might start to hopefully think that green is sort of maybe more residential and red is industrial. So, well, you need people first, I guess. So I'm gonna put right here. I have no idea why, but that's what I'm choosing to do. Now we have 3 buttons we can choose, as you can see. We can still rest. We can just have a really boring, lazy day. Or we can deploy and kind of begin to piece this memory together, by its macro. What was the city like? There was that area next to that area. You're piecing together this little memory here. But we could also explore. Your neighbor bangs on your door, complaining about the constant static. Now, this could be the static of this game you're playing, or the static of the world. You don't necessarily know in what capacity this static is from, so you can kind of respond in either way. Now, when you first start the game, you don't really know your relationship with your neighbor that bangs on the door. But the 17th time you've played this game, and you've been playing this game for a long time, what is your relationship with the neighbor? He comes on the door and he complains. Like, maybe in the beginning you mumble some sympathy. Maybe in the beginning you tell them to get plugs because that's kind of, it feels a little funnier, maybe a little meaner, But maybe you want to be nice in this first half. You listen to them rant. It's draining, but it makes the concrete walls feel less lonely. Then you continue. So now we have nowhere to explore, so we can deploy. All right. The sub-level living. Gosh, that doesn't feel very high class. We're kind of building a residential over here, but now Augment Alley. Look at this. If you have the money to, make yourself up and change out your arms or replace your old heart, you're probably going to go to Augment Alley. And I like the idea of this because, when you begin to start replacing your body parts and just say, I got a broken bone, I'm just going to pop that 3D bone back in, or, oh, I've been eating like shit and I have a terrible artery system, so I'll just take this pill. And, the respect for the body and this machine that you've been given to take care of, kind of, yeah, it's like, oh, I'm just going to go to Augment Alley, and it's sort of this flippant space that doesn't have a respect for the human body, or maybe we've, in this philosophy of our new world, that the body is less important. It's really just what your mind has to offer. So you just, oh, I'm gonna go down to Augment Alley and get a new heart. Where would you put that in this city? It'd be in the center. I feel like people probably be less. They'd probably want to come back here. Now, so far, our city hasn't brought us any harmony. Harmony is going to come from how the macro story, the city that you were, this coin city, sort of the colloquial of it. Your harmony is how you put everything together. The scrap mark. Now, I feel like the scrap mark next to Augment Alley is really going to be pretty good. All right, we got plenty of rest to go. Let's keep going here. 0GRE. Okay, now, this is kind of like our residential areas, the Cube Warren. A 0GRE. Now, I don't think the underserved are going to be there. They're probably going to be sleeping more in the Cube Warrens. And the 0GRE, you know, now these guys are kind of residential, you know, maybe they would probably live here. Here's my thinking. They go here because it kind of makes these guys kind of envy them, you know? And so I think that there's a little bit of harmony there. And you can see it gives you a little harmony. Let's put another couple down. I'm kind of having fun here. All right. The Century Park. Now, I'm going to have a Wikipedia pretty soon so you can really understand what these pieces are and stuff. But I like the idea that you can make your own story with it. But the Century Park, this is just a Century Park. You know, this isn't like a Cent Forest or Cent Woods. It's just one little Century. And I think I like the idea that it is one of those kind of parks in a city that that everyone goes to, but like no one actually is ever there. Everyone loves, but no one goes to, you know? And if it got like torn down, everybody would be really upset, but no one actually goes there, you know? Like, why would anybody? I mean, it's just like, you know, it's just free. But for some reason, there's this nostalgic longing for that place that sort of never visited, you know? So I feel like this is a more ritzy neighborhood and it's kind of coming on up. So I'm going to say maybe it's over here. Or, well, I'll tell you what that's about. I feel like we need to have some sort of industrial area. So we'll put this kind of off in the corner here. I'm going to tell you something. People don't want to work next to factories and all these smog machines and sludge. Why don't we go exploring? So here we have, let's see. Kind of want to go to Century Park. See what's going on around this area. Now, when you explore, you're going to be exploring kind of like that neighborhood. So it's not Century Park's exploration. It's sort of exploring, you know, these sort of synthetic leisure areas, you know. Hollow Pit projects a brutal game of chrome on flesh combat. A crowd is betting on a snarling bio-augmented beast. Now we can bet on the beast or just watch from the sidelines. I think for this particular run, maybe we'll just watch from the sidelines. We watch the flashy lights for a few minutes, wasting time. We lost a little energy for doing that. So let's go. Let's keep going. Let's go to Scrap Mark here. Oh, found one of our clues. A back alley data broker is selling corrupted IDs. One contains a partial location marker for a high-end residential block left by a client who wanted to start over. High-end residential marker. Okay. Now, this was a corrupted ID in a high-end residential box, so I think we gotta go here. Not a second. In a luxury apartment, a discarded data pad shows a confirmed, now canceled, consultation for quote-unquote total identity reassignment at a clinic in a synth leisure district. Okay, we don't have any, we only have this one, but we've already explored here, so we'll have to deploy. Oh, we have a hollow theater, we can check there. Now, kind of get into a part where the game starts, you have to start making another choice, a sort of macro choice. Do I want to chase the story here? You know, you've already got, you know, two of five. But if we do that, you know, we also still are, you know, kind of building up our city. So we want to make sure that when we place things down, we're still kind of paying attention to our harmony. All right, so we have our Hollow Theater. Now, the Hollow Theater, it's just sort of a theater, and it's probably more gimmicky than anything. So I don't necessarily think the fancy folks want to be there, but because it was kind of near, that clue and kind of in this area, I think I'm going to put it right here. And then we're going to go explore it. An attendant at the New You Identity Clinic mentions a client who got cold feet smashing their console before the procedure was complete. The console's work order was traced back to the Grid Forge. The Grid Forge is industrial areas. So, search there. 50%. Getting closer to it. The worker points to a shortcut through a hissing steam tank. Should probably take the shortcut. It's hot and stressful. We're totally exhausted. Alright, we don't have any red here, so let's keep going. Maglev Foundation. Found it. Report. A factory foreman complains about a worker who abruptly quit, mentioning they were last seen heading towards the corporate plaza, muttering about the racing their class at corporate plazas. They're corporate areas, so let's deploy. Oh, this is a fancy one. Put this right here. Look at that. Look at that harmony. Whew. From 9 to 14. It's because it's near this fancy folks. Look at that fancy. That feels like a very fancy resident. Or a corporate. Search. Chances 35. Massive news ticker glitches briefly showing raw casualty numbers from the Grid Forge before reverting back to casualty numbers. Report that. Intensity is fruitless, the feed cuts out. Right? Right, we are looking for corporate plaza. Okay. The bank tower. Let's put that right here in the middle. Okay, there is a couple. Closer, 55%. Corporate suit drops his ID card. Oh, got some energy. Grants one-time access to the executive bar. Boy. Hero. Let's put it right here. Oh, that got us 3. Okay. Final clue found. Tucked behind a service panel in a corporate lobby is the shattered ID chip left behind by someone trying to escape the person they were forced to be. You found a package. Open it up. Open it up. Damaged personal split down the middle that mirrors a warped, pixelated image of your face. The number 0926 is etched. Now we found our story, and we have an item that has a code, and perhaps upon subsequent plays you'll find other items, and you'll find how to purposely find other items. But let's finish out our last 3 moves here. So we have plenty of energy. Probably done too much, but that's okay. We'll deploy again. Now, we don't want to build too big of a factory. I feel like we want to have some hedonist area is going to be pretty, I feel like as a leisure space, that's going to be pretty high in there. So let's put it, I don't know if they necessarily want to go next to a factory, but these fancy guys probably would love to go there. So let's put that there. Nice. That brought us up another 3. Okay, got 2 moves left. Now I feel like we need some more coin. We've done okay on the harmony. We only have 22. Usually kind of hopefully get to 30 perhaps, but we're going to get a good bonus because we got the full story. That's going to really help our strength of city. Let's go explore. Grimy VR booth displays static and fractured image of an unfamiliar face. Jack in for a second. Oh. Okay. Let's try here. That's it. 33 moves. So we found 5 of the 5 fragments, and our strength was 535. We have a little, you know, this will be cool because like no one else will have made this map. I mean, maybe, but the likelihood that you made a map exactly like this is cool. And the fact is, like, the stories are going to be random, so there's a cool kind of unique element to every time you play the game. So I think that makes it kind of cool. So you can copy this and, you know, post around. And if you want to know how you did, just click right here. You can kind of see how close of a memory you got. As you can see, none of that has to be true, but the game is really about you creating your own narrative. And at the end of your night, you've been thinking about all other things. Spending a moment to just create a little story and use this as a building block to, you know, some kind of weird ideas. Hopefully just helps you sleep a little better and maybe gives you a little story to tell in your heart. Anyway, thanks for watching.